Hello there. I'd like to have another talk with you about World War II. That is the time that I grew up during World War II. Now, yesterday was a special day because in America it is celebrated as Independence Day. And the independence I received was when I came over from Germany in 1954 to America. And this is when I found my freedom, my independence. This is when I started to grow up more than what I had already done in Germany. My growing up years in Germany under the dictatorship of Adolf Hitler was definitely very different from the way the young people grow up here in America. Under dictatorship, you have no freedom. You have to have the mind of the one that is a dictator of your country. And if you don't have the mind that he has, he will see to it that you get it. It will taught to you in school. It will It will be taught to you when you go to college. It will be taught to you in your workplaces. In other words, you would live a life where somebody had really brainwashed you and taken away everything that the other world, the free world, had. You're not yourself growing up under dictatorship. So Independence Day yesterday was connected with many, many things for me. The happiest moment for me was the birthday of my grandson Liam, because he's a firecracker. He was born on Independence Day. And we went there yesterday to be with the family and really celebrate his birthday. But I always celebrate also my independence. America celebrates the independence they received from England a long, long time ago. But I celebrate the independence and freedom that was given to me when the Russians, the Americans, and England came into Europe, came toward Germany, and rescued us from the dictatorship of Adolf Hitler. This was the best that could have happened to us. And so many years later, I am celebrating my freedom. And every time I meet a soldier or a veteran of World War II or any of the other wars in a store or on the street, I will stop. I will want to shake their hand, and I will want to thank them for what they have done for me and so many others such a long time ago. When students ask me that I'm able to speak to, how did you feel about the bombing in Germany during the war? The only thing I have to say, and I've said that in every video I've made, I believe I've said that, it was like hell, raining fire and brimstone down on you. As a 6-year-old, I really didn't know what fire and brimstone was. But fires were burning in all directions every time I came out of an air raid shelter. And the sirens went off day and night. We never knew when we was going to have to run for the air raid shelter. There was no hiding from the bombs. There was no hiding from death. When it was meant for you to die, you would die. And this is what my mom had to teach me and tell me about. And this is what I saw day by day during a 5-year war. I saw this, that death was always just a little time away from us. It could happen to us any time at all. So, what do I think about war and bombs falling? It is not the life for anyone to live. This is what I think about it. I have a piece of paper here where people had asked me questions, you know, and the one question I just answered, what was it like to go through the bombings? Living hell. It was living hell. The other question is that students ask and want to know, where was I, my family and I, when the war ended? Well, my hometown and my birthplace is Berlin, Germany. And I was in Berlin when the war came to an end. Uh, for a little while before the war ended, we rescued ourselves from the daily bombing and went to a little place called Rietschitz. That was a small village close to Poland in the area of Warsaw. And for a year there, for just about a year, we had no planes dropping bombs on us because these small villages had no industry. Farmers were living there. They had the fields to plow, and there was not anything that the planes wanted to drop bombs on. They went to the towns where there was industry and where war machinery was being built. And they hit railroad stations, they hit us, people, our houses, our homes, hospitals, schools. There was no precision bombing. There was just drop the bombs no matter where they fell. It would destroy Germany and eventually end the war. So for 1 year, close to 1 year, my mom were in a little village in Rietschitz. And then as the war came in from Warsaw, closer to us, we had to get on a train and return to our hometown. And of course, we were bombed out, my mom and I, so we lived with an aunt for a while. And then we got into a little bitty cottage where another aunt of mine was not living at that time. She was on the outskirts of Berlin, also cut in a small village, and didn't get back in time. But we did, and we took over her place, and we lived there. So when the war ended, we were right there in that little bitty cottage with a little garden spot around us and trees behind us, a wooded area behind us. And to our surprise, one morning, a tank came from the other side toward our house. And when the tank turned, we saw the hammer and the sickle on the side of the tank. And seeing this, we knew that the war was ended. But what was going to happen to us, this was a concern because we didn't know how we were going to be treated by the soldiers that were coming in that once was our enemy. And now here we are, the so-called Nazis. We really didn't know what would happen to us. And this was very fearful. I can tell you that things happened during that time because the Russians were the first that came in. Things happened during that time that no one should have to experience, especially not by this time an 11-year-old child. Whether boy or girl, 11 years old, what happened during that time when the Russians came in first was a nightmare for all of us. But after a certain time, the Americans came and the English followed. and everything. And then the French also came, you know. Everything changed when the Allied troops came in. We had not much to be afraid of anymore after they came, because they tried to establish order for us. They went from my part of town, where Mom and I had established our residence of living. They went down into the middle part of town to where my dad was living, and my parents were divorced. So we lost the evil that they brought with them, but it was only shoved down the road a little ways into the other part of town. And evil continued over there. It was like we received a little bit of heaven, while the other part of town received a little bit of hell. Again, some more of it. I can only praise the Allies, the Allied troops, for reaching out to us German people. I can praise them. But I really cannot praise the Russians when they came in. They provided us with more misery, more hurt. But the Allied troops, when they came, they reached out and gave us helping hands. They tried to establish some kind of regularity. And these soldiers, when they looked at us children, they saw us as children, not like something that they could misuse. I don't like having to say these harsh words, but this is what the war brought to us, and this is what I remember. And whenever I talk about these times, my heart is hurting, even though the times were such a long, long time ago. So if anyone that is a teacher is going to look at this video and show it to a classroom, I will say my family and I and many others were fortunate to be rescued when the Allied forces came in that followed the Russians. Now with this, I'm going to have to say goodbye for today, because I know that 15 minutes is such a short time to make a video and to tell the story. And these stories are important stories that people should hear and remember, so that they can guard what freedom they have. So I will say good night to you right now. And like always, I will say God bless you. And then, of course, next time, more.